Hi everyone, welcome back to Comic Book Corner. I'm Dan Delatorre. Thanks for joining us this evening. I wanted to do a follow-up video for the last video because I've got a lot of response from that video regarding heavy hitters, big, sluggers in the Marvel Universe or in comic books in general, the Hulk, Thor, and so forth. And there were a number of comments. So let's do some house cleaning first. Shout out to Michael Hetzler. Thank you so much for pointing this out. I had forgotten about this. One of the a couple comics that I pointed out was Fantastic Four number 166 and 167. And he reminded me, because I totally forgot about this. Here it is right here. I've got 9-4 white pages. This is a George Perez cover. This is George Perez art. It's Rich Buckler cover, but George Perez, the late George Perez, one of the best artists we've ever had, did the pencils on this. And I totally forgot about this. So this adds to potential value. Once, again, if they start doing the Thing versus Hulk battles, these very inexpensive comics are going to move. So get them while you can, and get them and get raw copy, because they're really, really cheap, and get them in slabs. I have here the 167 I've got in a 9.0 white pages. It's a pretty one. Really pretty one. Again, Roy Thomas' story. That's another thing I forgot about it. Roy Thomas, one of the better writers that Marvel ever had. He was the first editor-in-chief that Stan Lee had named after he moved on to expand his company. Said, here's my 167 white pages. Really, really pretty. And the funny thing is about this particular one here, I don't see too many flaws. I think I see one little flaw in a corner here. But in my personal view, because I've looked at this several times, this looks better than this one. This is one of the rare, and I mean very rare, 9/8 that I have of this. I didn't pay that much for this, even though it's a 9/8. I look at this, it is a gorgeous book, but there's little goofiness on the back here. You can't really see it, kind of like a waviness or so forth, but that 9.0 looks as pretty as this one here. Again, I'm too lazy to resubmit these just to get a higher grade. I don't care. I really don't care. But you should, because again, the whole point of doing these videos is to look where people are not looking. Nobody's looking at these right now. So the value is way down. So get them while you can. I think it's simply a matter of time before they start making mention of this sort of thing. And these are very, very inexpensive. All right, more house cleaning. A few of you, including my brother Ray, shout out to my brother Ray. Love you, man. I thank you for watching. Appreciate it. He, and I forget who else, forgive me for forgetting the name, asked me if I had Incredible Hulk number 122. First of all, I'm delighted that you guys remember that book. I always thought it was kind of a forgotten book. People, it's not Fantastic Four 112. It's not Fantastic Four 25, that kind of thing. But it's a fun, colorful cover. Roy Thomas story, Herb Trimp, and it's absolutely beautiful. Look how colorful this is. Not necessarily the best battle, but again, it was a Thing versus Hulk battle. This is an 8.5 white pages. I forget what I paid for this one. This is a little more pricier than the ones I just showed here, but again, white pages is where it's at if you can find them. Even if it's mid-grade, let's say you find a 5.0, and I've seen a few 5.60s that are white pages. They're substantially less, but they're beautiful. They just are. So grab them, and you can save a fortune and have a nice comic in your collection. So I have that 8.5, and I also have this. I don't know why. I've always been a person or a collector, that buys the same comic over and over again. I guess it's because when I was at my comic shop, what they didn't call them LCSs back then, Comic Relief in Berkeley, you'd go through the bins, and the ones that were always gone were ones like this. Here's my 9.2 white pages. Absolutely gorgeous book. Absolutely gorgeous book. I didn't pay that much for it, but again, it's in my collection. Not selling this anytime soon. I don't sell anything. I just collect. I'm simply a consumer. But if you find them, you have to be diligent, look for the right price. And also, you find your better deals on auctions. Yeah, that's where you have to be really, really patient. I want to be careful not to knock these over here. Here's a Silver Age. Actually, that's a Silver Age. Sith Lordly, I love Sith Lordly. We keep going back and forth about when the Marvel Silver Age ended. He's wrong, I'm right, because he's quoting this one outfit that says they're in business maybe 5 years or so. I've been at it over 50 years. I trust my own experience. The 20-cent era is when it officially ended. And to back that up, I did a video a while ago where ASM 12122, some say that was the end of the Silver Age. That's a 20-cent issue. That's a 20-cent issue. So anyway, that's just, I don't want to get into that. I probably shouldn't even mention it, but because I'll probably hear about it. By the way, join me on Spine Ticks tomorrow night. We always have a lot of fun. Spine Ticks live at 8 o'clock Pacific. Here's one that's fun, and this is the Submariner. Again, a powerhouse, an underrated powerhouse. Same with Iron Man in his classic armor. This is Tales to Astonish number 82. This story connects to Tales of Suspense 80, 7.0 white pages. Again, if you get a lower grade, you don't need, nothing. Everything does not have to be a 9.8. 7.0 is just as acceptable. It's just as gorgeous and worth preserving. That's what we're doing, preserving and appreciating the artwork. Here's one I'd mentioned. Just want to show it to you because I found it. The biggest problem with getting these videos together is I need like a mini forklift, moving all the boxes. I get my weights in by moving these boxes back and forth. And then, like anything else, when you bring your toys out, you have to put them back away. And you got to be very careful with them. This is Tales to Astonish number 79, that 9.0 that I talked about. Absolutely gorgeous books. Not a white pages, not a white pages. But I think the price and the high grade and just how gorgeous this looked, I couldn't say no. More powerhouses, and let's start. You know what? Let's do this because I had some raw copies here. I try to get these in order. I tried to put this all together as quickly as possible. I'd always loved this character, one of the great villains. And Marvel is not known for its villains; it's known for its heroes. But you can't have good storyline unless you have great villains. And Marvel had fantastic villains, including this is the first appearance. This is the first decent copy I've had in a long time. I'd like to get a graded copy of this one. That's Tales to Astonish number 90, first appearance of the Abomination. When you read this story, the fight that they engage in, keep in mind at the time, the Hulk was the most powerful person in the world, without question. And that was proven wrong because the Abomination wipes the floor with him. And he was scary powerful. He was that good in this one. So it's absolutely getting worth the story because the Abomination is by far one of the most powerful beings in Marvel Comics. And I don't think the MCU hasn't done him justice. It was a joke in that She-Hulk, story. And the writers of today don't understand the characters that were given to them, by Stan Lee, Kirby, and the Bullpen. So again, this is an unbelievable powerhouse, worth getting your hands on without question. And especially if you can get the second issue, his first appearance, his first cover appearance. And that's this one right here. Stan Lee story, Bill Everett and Dan Atkins art. Gil Kane did the cover art for this one. I also thought he did, he did do the art for this one. And that's Tales of Astonish number 91, first cover appearance. An 8.5 white pages, gorgeous book. And again, the storyline continues. And I'm not going to spoil it for you. It leads into other things. But these are the two most powerful people going at each other by far. I mean, anyway, just it kind of speaks for itself to get these powerhouses. And the battles in my view, are kind of better than they are today. The creators, Stan Lee and company, knew what they had, and they knew how to wield these creations and these characters that they had created. They didn't just throw them together in a mishmash sort of way. And I say this because when I started collecting, I was a kid on a budget, and I had to make a decision. Do I buy Marvel? Do I buy DC? I wanted to buy both. I just didn't have the money for it. But the Marvel stories were better. And it wasn't that DC was, were bad writers or anything. Keep in mind, they were still reeling from the 50s and the early 60s when there was that congressional hearing thanks to Dr. Frederick Wortham, who wrote the book, The Seduction of the Innocent. A man who had no business commenting on comics. He had no idea what he was talking about. He was a narcissist and an egotist, in my view, almost destroyed the industry. And And so DC, which was a big powerhouse at the time before Marvel stepped in with the Silver Age with Fantastic Four, One, all the rest of them, they had to keep their stories kind of tame because they didn't want to get in trouble from the government. The government was threatening all sorts of action against these little companies. They didn't have the money to fight them. That's why DC sort of took a tamer view, in my personal opinion. I think that's what happened here. So after a while, when that all faded, Marvel, with Stan Lee, at the helm, said, "We're going to do things my way," and look what he did. That was the greatest revolution in comics history. It'll never be repeated, and mark my words for it. Anyway, so back to the Thing versus Hulk battles. Always loved this one here. This is Len Wein's story, and Joe Starlin and Joe Sinnott artwork. This is also the first solo story for the Thing versus Hulk, and it's actually, pardon me, it's the first solo story by the Thing in his own title, and it's Marvel feature number 11. And this is a great story, great fight, interesting because it involves the leader and Kurgo, Master of Planet X. If you've never heard of Kurgo, he was from Fantastic Four number 7. He's only been seen a couple of times. This is his second appearance. That's one book I've been putting it off and putting it off. I'm talking about Fantastic Four number 7. I need to get one of those just to have it. There's something about Kurgo, just to have that first appearance, because I had it a long time ago. But this was just a thoughtful story. Again, they had such talented writers. Len Wein was one of them. And look what they did with the heroes that they had. They put together just great storyline, and again, it draws my attention to this day. Here is, speaking of early Silver Age. Now this might be a little more pricey, but worth it. This is a Thor versus Hulk book, and I got this one here. Had it graded by Tony at EGS. And it's worth getting if you don't mind spending a little more money. If you can find a decent copy, this is actually a decent copy. It presents very well. And that's Journey into Mystery 112, the classic Thor versus the Hulk. Great story. I won't spoil it for you. It's worth getting your hands on this just because this is classic Jack Kirby art, Stan Lee story. So again, a little more pricey, but you should get this. Now, I mention this for a couple of reasons. One, because of the caliber of this particular book. But two, it dovetails with another classic and another powerhouse that is kind of underrated. Another EGS book that I've got here. And that is Avengers number 3. When the Submariner and the Hulk go against the Avengers, great battle. Early, you can see the power of these guys, the passion of these guys, and they were just fighting all the time. Which, by the way, that kind of, my impression of Stan Lee and the Bullpen, remember these are guys from New York back in the 50s and 60s, they fought with each other all the time about this and that. That was just their nature. So putting that sort of argument, persona in some of these characters was, again, this is who they were. So they could relate to these things. And that's why they were fighting all the time. Now, Avengers 3, again, a bit of a pricey book, but way cheaper, and I think way undervalued versus Avengers 1, obviously. That's a very expensive book, and even that's undervalued. Avengers 2, I would put in that same category, underrated, undervalued. This one really is undervalued. This is worth getting. I'd always loved this story here. And if you can't get 1 and 2, you can at least get 3. No one will complain regarding the caliber of this particular book. But great battle, and it fits our theme today. I think I have 1 or 2 more, then we'll just end it. It took a while to go through my collection to see what I could find here. And there's a couple more, damn it, now that I think about it. This is more of a modern book. I wanted to get another one. I won't spoil it for you, maybe for next time. One of the villains, one of my favorite villains, other than the Abomination, is the Absorbing Man. First appearance of Journey into Mystery 114, what you do have. That would be on the list. Same with Hulk number 125, which I have one signed by Stan Lee, by the way. But this one here is really inexpensive. God, just a great character. And it's Incredible Hulk number 209. Great story. Hulk is still dealing with the repercussions of his... Jor-El had died a few issues earlier, so he's still, recovering from all that. Then maybe it was the best thing for him to tackle somebody like the Absorbing Man, because the Absorbing Man is just, not only does he have absolutely unique powers, he's a character that's just tenacious. He just is. But this is a fabulous story, extremely reasonable, worth having in your collection. In fact, I want to get a slab one now that I think about it. I remember getting this off the rack back in the day. So, being an older person, I have advantages that some of you don't have if you weren't collecting back in those days, or if you're not as old as I am. So anyway, that's what I've got for today. I may do a follow-up. We'll see. I've got other subjects that I want to bring forward. I'm also naming the channel the SBC Network. And the reason why is there is another Dan's Comic Book Corner, and we have no problem with fighting, but I don't want to have any legal issues or some challenge or whatever. So I'm trying to differentiate my channel from others. And it seems to be growing thanks to all of you. I really appreciate the support, the wonderful comments you guys have. This is why I love doing this. Originally, I didn't want to start this channel, just for a lot of reasons. And I did, maybe, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and I didn't put much effort into it. And now it's sort of taken off. And so I'm doing my best to provide content. Hopefully you appreciate this, and we can continue this dialogue and this back and forth. Everyone, thanks for joining for the SBC Network. I'm Dan Delatorre, and this is Comic Book Corner.